So Newcastle just beat Man United 4-1 and it got me thinking. Remember that whole Super League thing? The best 6 clubs in the country wanting to make a breakaway league. Doesn't that look funny now? At the time, we all just thought it was greed, but in hindsight, I think it was fear. I think they saw what was coming. Newcastle, Villa, Forest, and it just made them panic. It made them try and lock the door before anyone realised they were just absolutely winging it. And fuck me, were they winging it. Man United are now the Premier League's whipping boys. Chelsea are breaking financial records and still struggling to beat an already relegated Ipswich at home. And Spurs, we'll get to them later. Stick around because I'm going to cover all of the Super League elite clubs. But meanwhile, the clubs that weren't deemed good enough to be part of Europe's elite competition are now the most likely clubs to qualify for Europe's actual elite competition, the Champions League. There's already been a changing of the guard. It's not happening, it's happened. The mainstream media just haven't caught up yet. You've got Gary Neville trying to sneak Man United into a list of clubs players are desperate to join.
They are going to struggle to hold on to Isak at some point. He's going to want to play somewhere else. That's just unfortunately the nature of the beast. Newcastle's a great football club, but they will want to play for Real Madrid's and Liverpool's and Manchester United's and Bayern Munich.
A season or two ago, maybe, but I think most players have realised now it's just a graveyard where promising careers just go to die. And the sheer audacity from Gary Neville there to try and put Manchester United in a list with Real Madrid, Bayern Munich and Liverpool. I get where he's coming from in terms of the size of the club, yes, but players would want to sign for them clubs. Nobody wants to sign for Manchester United right now. I don't think anyone wants to take that risk anymore. Look at Onana. Champions League final, one of the best goalkeepers in Europe at the time, now just a meme with gloves.
Oh no, save this free kick.
I got this.
Alright, save it, bro.
I'm saving it.
Save it.
I'm saving it.
Save it.
I'm saving it.
Save it. What are you doing?
Now, obviously, we can't talk Super League without talking about Arsenal, Liverpool and City, who are all still in the conversation. So we'll start with Liverpool, because out of the 3 of them, they're probably the best right now. And I like Liverpool. Geordies and Scousers have always had some kind of relationship. I don't know how or why or where it's come from, but it's there. But I do have to be real about them for a second. They've got an aging squad, no obvious succession plan that I'm aware of anyway. If there is one, Liverpool fans, let me know in the comments because I don't really know what the plan is. But if Slot and Salah hadn't performed absolute miracles this season, then I think they'd have been in deep shit going forward. Maybe winning the league for them this season will give them enough financial muscle to propel them forward and keep them at the top. But the next few years are going to be massive for Liverpool. Then we've got City. They need Harry Houdini himself to get out of the mess that they're in. Unfortunately, if we're going off past records, it does seem that they actually have Harry Houdini on the payroll. Wouldn't be particularly that shocking. They've got everyone else on it. But if they don't escape these allegations, then they could be in the Championship next year. And I don't think Haaland's going to be particularly keen on sticking around for midweek away trips to Hull and Portsmouth. City is just a ticking time bomb. And that's exactly what this video is about. The slow, messy demise of the Super League. And then we've got Arsenal, the only one of the old elite that genuinely looks like it's actually a well-run club. And I've rinsed Arteta a lot over the past few weeks, and I don't really like him, but credit where it's due. He's got everyone at the club galvanised. Fans, players, board, everyone is pulling in the same direction. And ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about culture. And that's exactly what I think separates these clubs, culture. And I'll get onto that in a minute. But if you want a concrete example of how far the elite have fallen, there is no better example right now than Manchester United. They have seemingly unlimited money. They can make consistently bad decisions and just carry on making bad decisions and still be able to spend money. They have a historic name, massive fan base, and yet are still somehow ran with the clarity of a fog machine in a hurricane. As I said earlier, I think most players now are looking at it and thinking, I don't really want to join that project anymore. It's not going well. I've been baffled by people wanting to join Man United for years now, but it seems like everyone else is cottoning on as well. You don't go there to grow, you go there to disappear. But as I mentioned earlier, it all comes down to culture, and it's the same for all of these clubs that are falling off, but it's particularly bad at Man United, and that culture is a culture of entitlement. Jim Ratcliffe is constantly walking around talking as if Man United should win the league just by existing. The fans, not so much. They're starting to see it now. It's quite hard to feel entitled when you're getting bodied by Wolves every other week. But I do think culture is what Amorim is trying to change. He's not coming in with this delusion that Man United are anything that they're not anymore. He's openly in interviews saying the shit, basically.
We are being the worst team, maybe, in history of Manchester United. I know that you want headlines, but I'm saying that because we have to acknowledge that and to change that. So here we go, your headlines.
And maybe it's a tactic. Get expectations to an all-time low so when people arrive, they don't feel like they're owed anything. Or maybe I just like him because he's the only Man United manager calling his own club shit and I find it funny. Who knows? But regardless, Jim Ratcliffe certainly hasn't bought into that narrative and he's still going around acting as entitled as ever. So
United is the greatest football club in the world. It's the world's favourite football club.
the club, they're not pulling in the same direction, and that is a problem in itself. And then finally, Spurs, let's get to that. Daniel Levy has been living off trying to convince everyone Spurs are a Big Six club for years now, and he's done a fucking incredible job of it. I don't know how he's done it. They've consistently done just enough to scrape into Europe and keep that label. He's essentially like a top six Mike Ashley. Granted, not as bad, obviously, but the same coasting, ambitionless energy until one day you wake up and you realise you've fucked it. We ended up in the Championship. They've ended up with Ange Postecoglou.
It's just who we are, mate.
But for a while, no one really had the balls to challenge their top six status. So for ages, they just kind of stayed there somehow. But now, Villa, Forest, Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford, Fulham, if I've missed any, sorry, let me know. But they're all coming with a purpose. And Spurs, they're just standing there like someone who forgot the group project was due today. No plan, no momentum, just vibes.
It's just who we are, mate.
And this is where it flips, because while the old guard are clinging to their dusty reputations, clubs like Newcastle, Forest and Villa, they're evolving. Newcastle have gone 3 transfer windows now without a proper first team signing, and in that whole time genuinely look like they've improved. That doesn't happen by accident. If you go back 2 years ago, we were in a Carabao Cup final with Manchester United. They won that final and they were also challenging us for Champions League. Look where we are now. Look where they are now. And that's without even mentioning the money spent in that time. In that time, Manchester United have spent 280 million. Newcastle have spent about 80 million net spend. Villa have been forced to sell players like Douglas Luiz, John Duran, and somehow they come out looking better for it. Forest have been in constant relegation battles. They got hit with a points deduction for not selling a player fast enough, yet they look very much likely to qualify for the Champions League now. These clubs are being punished by the system with PSR and still outperforming the clubs that it was brought in to protect. Meanwhile, Chelsea are spending so much they're having to sell hotels to themselves and sell their women's team for 200 million, and yet somehow still look like they're going nowhere. They've spent over £1 billion and are still going to finish below Nottingham Forest. And no disrespect to Nottingham Forest, but they finished 17th last year, and what a job Nuno has done. Remember when Spurs sacked him because the fans thought they were too good for him in the first place? Anyway,
it's just who we are, mate.
Every season we hear, this team will be back next year, that team will be back next year. You've only finished that high because everyone else had a bad season. It'll be back to normal next season. It's like saying Blockbuster and Woolworths are due a big relaunch. There's honestly more chance of that happening than the original traditional Big Six finishing as the top 6 again. Wake up. The change has already happened. This isn't a dip, it's a handover, and most people just haven't clocked it yet. Here's the core of it. Money helps, but culture wins. If your club is built on excuses, PR spins, and 2005 nostalgia, good luck. Because Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, Forest, they're not here for the scenery. They're not just up at the top for a day out. They're building something. Recruitment, youth, infrastructure, marginal gains in every area. And they all have one thing in common, a culture of everyone working, grafting, trying to pull in the same direction. As the old saying goes, the wolf at the bottom of the hill is hungrier than the wolf at the top of the hill. And these clubs are hungry. They're focused. And granted, our first year in the Champions League, we did struggle. Aston Villa have struggled a little bit balancing the two. Forest are probably going to struggle next year, but it doesn't mean that we're going away. It just means that we've had to adapt to that. We're still building. And now Newcastle's second year in the Champions League, probably next year, this year, we will be able to cope with it because we've built. And you've got the old Big Six walking around like they just deserve to be in the Big Six because of vibes. And I'm sure most of you watching know that that's just not how life works. If you want something, it won't be handed to you. You've got to put fucking graft in. The game's moved on. The Super League is dead and it's not coming back. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. If you like content like this, if you're tired of the mainstream media's narrative on football, if you're sick of them acting like we're all a bunch of idiots and like we can't see what's right in front of our faces, then drop a like and subscribe because that's what this channel is all about. Not being told that Man United are something that they're just not anymore. So if you're a fan of Newcastle, Villa, Forest, Brighton, Brentford, Bournemouth, Fulham, any of these kind of clubs that are trying to push out the elite, share this video, drop it a like, send it to your friends, and let's start to build a platform where we can talk about things from the fucking real world, where we don't have to sit and listen to this usual peddled bullshit narrative that these elite clubs are always going to be there, because they're not even there now. And some of them have got a lot of work to do to be able to get back to where they want to be. And let me know which other clubs in the Premier League you think are going to start pushing into that fight for the Champions League places. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.